if you haven't yet closed your eyes, close them now. And feel that connection between mind and heart that our music has so beautifully established. I love what my meditation teacher says, that we hammer the mind into the heart so that we become a container for love. So let's take a moment to become even more fully present. And to rest in the breath. And to fully embody this temporary vehicle, this human experience, as a soul journey, to remember that we are light. And then slowly and gently bring your attention back. If you're ready, and if you want to, you can open your eyes. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Center for Spiritual Living. These three beautiful ladies have set the tone for us. We have Sharon Silverstein, who has been with us for many years, who brings this incredible peace to the world. And you can take a look, too, at the table outside, because Deva Veja and Sharon have some wonderful materials there. Goddesses, priestesses, and they do beautiful work all over the world. And they're going to be back on their travels on Tuesday, so we won't see them for a while. And they brought a friend, Mirabai Moon, who is a mantra artist from the group Mystical Kirtan in Nyack. She's located, but she tours all over the world as a sound healer, a bhakti yogi, and a kirtanwala. So I think we might have to have her back, because she lives in our neighborhood. So let's give them a warm welcome. I am Frankie Timmers. I don't know if I already said that. And I'm the spiritual director here. I'm so honored to be that. And I want to extend a special welcome to all of you and celebrate those of you who are here for the first time, because you've walked into a community that you'll never know exactly what it's all about. So especially don't try to figure it out the first time. But there's always more than what we think there is. There's a lot of support, a lot of love, an amazing teaching that transforms our consciousness, a community that's here to support you, that's a little different from the internet, right? Because there's a lot of support everywhere. And just a way to connect with those of like mind. I know that most of you that walk through these doors relate to what I felt when I first walked through the doors, where I realized I was finally home. And so this can be your second home, or maybe for some of you, your first. So welcome. Today I have a surprise. You get to hear from someone that you don't usually get to hear from. So stand by, and that's twice. So don't run out, because she's coming back again. I want you to, on the way out, not just take a look at the beautiful music table, but because also Mirabai has a CD out there, but the other table, because there's so much coming up for the fall with classes, workshops, Marion's comedy show. I'm so excited. You want to come to that, because I think we all need to laugh more. And she really does it in such an eloquent, graceful way. a little surprising too, but she's wonderful. So you want to come to that. So really take a look at what's going on. Grab a calendar, grab some flyers that call your name, and begin to sign up so that we can start preparing for the classes and the workshops. But let's do this first. Spiritual mind treatment, our word for affirmative prayer. So I invite you to close your eyes. In this very moment, I turn from the many to the one, from the outer to the inner, from the world of condition and effect to the world of cause. And that is my spiritual nature. And when I say my, I, me, I simply speak from and to our soul, our divine self. So right here, I remember that I am a soul. I don't have a soul, I am a soul. And I'm traveling this journey through this human experience to awaken to the essence within, to the light already within, to the love already within, and to give it expression in my own unique way, because I am a unique, individualized expression of the one. So there's no need to compare, to simply become more of who the universe created me to be. And so today, what I'm experiencing, what I see, what I hear is just a reminder. It's a way to remember the depth of my very being, and to always rise up through my experience to be love in action, to shine my light, to trust my journey, and to know that Spirit within always guides the way. For that and so much more, I am grateful. I'm so grateful to be part of this community and to have these beautiful people in it that share so much in so many ways, that truly rises up the consciousness of the planet. And so it is. So, the person I want to introduce to you is somebody that started taking classes last year, and she freaking dove in head first. And she so transformed and healed. I was watching it before my very eyes. So much so that she inspired me, and then I'm asking her to share with all of us today one of her many beautiful poems that she wrote. Lori Carlson, would you come up? Let's give her a big hand, Lori. She'll share later, so stick around for that.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm going to read you a poem that I wrote for my final project for the last class that I took with Reverend Frankie, which was just amazing, transformed me, and I'm going to share this poem with you today.
Make sure you're on. Yeah.
Okay. It's untitled. I need to be still and quiet my mind to get my fill and truly hope to find a deeper connection with the God within. It's not the God of my youth, the God of sin, but a universal energy, all light, all love, that's in me, around me, not somewhere up above, but a oneness, a knowing, a divinity, it's true, that's equally a part of both me and of you. For it's from the inside out that we truly live, and it takes clear thought for the universe to give us all we desire. It's already there for us to claim by treating and trusting and giving it a name. We manifest our thoughts, but our thinking we can change. So get rid of bad thoughts. It's really not that strange. And focus instead on truth, wisdom, peace, love, and joy. Then each day you'll greet life like a child with a new toy. Expectant of good and knowing it's your right to be happy and joyful and keep spreading the light of divinity within. It's our true nature, it's real. And when you know it truly, it'll change how you feel about life on this planet, about service, about all those things that you stress about from your shoulders will fall. And divine right action will keep you in the flow of all that you've remembered, of all that you know. Somewhere deep down inside that you're part God, it's true. A unique expression of spirit, expressing as you. So we study and learn, the better to keep growing into our true nature, which is one with the flowing of divine love, of creativity, of abundance and such, is the reason we came here to earth, so to touch that part of each other that is one with the divine. Knowing that, trusting that, is what makes life sublime. And so I treat, do affirmations, meditate, and pray. These practices teach me to be present to this day and experience life as it grows my soul, for that is my purpose, my one true role. So, with gratitude for all and with the gift of grace, I practice this teaching and reveal my true face. Being authentically me, the God that's within, I see the God in others, friend, foe, and kin. So, I joyously celebrate this new way of seeing and thank divine love for this better way of being.
Oh, my God. Oh, you're amazing. When I read that poem, I was like, she's going to have to read that one in Sunday celebration. Thank you, Laurie, and for being such a beautiful example. So, 2018 has as a theme 100 years of the science of mind. And the reason is because Ernest Holmes' first book was published 100 years ago. And I received a list of his books not that long ago, like a complete list, and I've been in his teaching like half my life. And I was so surprised how many there were and how many I had not read yet. There is a book for everyone in this room, maybe two. And it is such a beautiful material because some of it is a little bit more lecture, textbook, and some of it is more real for the first person, for the first time visitor. But then everything in between, because I'm reading some of the early simple books, and they are different today than they were a few years ago. And they are different. They're different depending on what we're going through. So the book that we are reading this month, and you want to run to the bookstore and get that, is this lovely little book called Prayer. And I think it's a section from the Science of Mind textbook. But what I love about it the most is that half of it is little meditations and self-help and healing, little prayers. And they're so special and they're so magical that it's great. Instead of carrying around a textbook, this one was specially made for me. I know it looks like a Bible, but to carry this around, as only a section of that on prayer is in this little book. So for the month of September, we are doing the topic, spiritual mind treatment, the feeling. Last month it was spiritual mind treatment, the form. Spiritual mind treatment being our word for affirmative prayer. So the first thing that I want to ask is, it's September, how are you? How are you? How are you feeling? How are you feeling? How are you doing? Good? How you doing? That's an interesting question. Don't you think? It's really an unconscious habit I find most of the time, whether I'm the one asking or the one being asked. I notice that a lot of times people don't really want the answer. And a lot of times I don't want to give the answer, so I'm good. Hence, right? And if we really, really think about it, we have this opportunity to be more conscious when the question is asked and when we ask the question. When the question is asked, and I have an acquaintance friend who often asks that when we get on the phone, how are you? I also realize it's an American habit. In Holland, we don't do that, maybe because people don't really want to know. But I say, let me think. And then I purposely do this because then I want to make both of us more conscious. And recently she said to me, I really learned something powerful from you. It's in the little question, how are you, is how I ask it, but also how I answer it. So we get to really think about when we ask it, how we ask it, and who we ask it of, and how we answer it. And it doesn't mean we have to go into a half-hour story, but I do think it requires of us to be conscious and then to be honest. Because sometimes in the science of mind teaching, people are afraid to be honest when they're not doing well. They're afraid to think that they're affirming it, that they're being negative, and what does that mean anyway? And that they are not being pure in the teaching, which is not true at all. So that's kind of what I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to talk about this idea of being more aware of how we're feeling, then looking at some of the blocks that we might be experiencing and how we can dissolve some of the blocks so that we're freer. And then you get to hear a little bit about why Lori does all that and how it changed her life. So the key then to what I was just saying is being conscious. And this is what I find in the world that I live in. Not here, not when I'm with those of like mind, but when I'm out in the world, is that we're a bunch of babies. We live in a world with people who are like children in a sandbox, throwing sand in each other's eyes, fighting over their toys. The level of emotional immaturity in our culture is horrendous. And you can point a finger at a few people, but really, as I always say, when you're pointing a finger at someone, there's always 3 fingers pointing back. It's an opportunity to really look at ourselves. And so when you think about it, like for example, I use my commute as a spiritual practice. Commuting from New Brunswick to Morristown 5 times a week is my spiritual practice because I really see this in traffic, where people are working out their grief and their rage on the road, where people are living their day-to-day anxiety behind a steering wheel instead of looking inside and dealing with it in a healthy way. When we look at the level of anxiety and stress and grief and depression that our culture is experiencing, it is a symptom. We know that in this teaching. It is not the cause, it is a symptom. And it behooves us, when we're experiencing grief, anxiety, anger, stress, to look a little bit deeper and to find a solution in cause, which is our own personal experience, instead of moving around in the world of effect. And so what I notice is that we live in a culture of blame and depression and unresolved grief and anxiety. And hence the world is in the state it is in. And so the growth then happens when we say, let me develop my emotional intelligence. And a lot of scientific research has been done that that's a very powerful thing, to raise our emotional intelligence, to become more emotionally mature. And that's connected to our spiritual life, I believe. And I know that it begins within. It begins with ourselves. So knowing that, there's just a few simple things that we can do. They're simple, but they're slippery because of the unconscious nature of who we are as human beings. It can be up and down and it can slide around a little bit. I know it does for me. But first, the idea is to identify what we're feeling. Just to know how you're feeling, what you're feeling. When I do counseling, which I do quite a bit, when I ask a person, how are you feeling, they rarely answer it. I don't know. Or they say something, and then when we dig a little bit deeper towards the end of the session, they have a handle on it because I asked the right questions. So we can ask of ourselves the right questions. How am I feeling? If you don't know how to identify your feelings, there's a really cool thing on Google that's a list of 300 feelings. And there's one of them with the faces, the smiley faces. 300 of them. So there's so much information, even categories of feelings. So we can work with that and just check in, just take a moment throughout the day and go, how am I feeling? What's going on? Just to check in, just to connect, just to know, and then notice, or maybe first ask, well, how do I want to feel? How do I want to feel instead? And then ask yourself, well, what's blocking? What's the block? What's in the way? It's really just a way to become more consciously aware. And then we use the teaching, we use our spiritual practices to dissolve that which is in the way, which then raises our vibration, raises our emotional intelligence. We become more mature, and we're a whole lot more fun to be with. And our relationships get a whole lot better. And so the question, how am I feeling, is really just a question of self-love, of self-honor. Don't you think? So how am I feeling? It's checking into your heart. It's noticing what's in your gut. Find out what you're thinking. But because we're taught that certain feelings are not okay and other ones are, especially in this kind of teaching, you're supposed to be a positive thinker, we do a lot of denial. And you know where it goes? It stays. It doesn't go anywhere. It goes in the body. It goes underground. And so it's about getting to know yourself and exploring you, the adventure of you. And so it might be that you're in the grocery store and you notice that the price of toilet paper has gone up and it upsets you. Oh, darn it, toilet paper just got more expensive. Here's another thing. First it's gas, then it's rent, then it's not getting a raise, and now it's toilet paper. What's wrong with the world? Take a moment. Take a breath. Yes, even in the middle of ShopRite, or Whole Foods, or Green Life. Check in. Oh, what's going on? I think most of the time it means something else is going on, because I'm telling you, when I'm happy, I don't care how much toilet paper costs. I'll buy it. And I like all different kinds of requirements for toilet paper. Different from Norman, so we each buy our own. That's a whole other talk, right? So it just means breathe, listen. What's going on? What are you feeling? What are you thinking? What is this really about? And what do you need in that moment? What do you need? We don't ask ourselves, what do I need? And then get some help. I know it's weird to call somebody for help about the price of toilet paper and your frustration, but you've already gotten to a deeper level of understanding what's really going on. And so call a friend, call a practitioner, call me. I'll talk you out of bitching about the price of toilet paper really quick. I know that's why you might not want to come to me. So just get some support. Get somebody to kind of walk you through it, talk you through it, get some clarity. Go see a therapist. Go see a counselor. Go see a massage therapist, because sometimes it's just something that's stuck in your body. And so it's really about listening and paying attention. If we do not do that, we will get stuck on the price of toilet paper and our frustration with it, and it will show up everywhere you go. You'll be bitching about not having enough money, that you can't even go out to dinner, that you never have enough. It just is like a snowball effect that just takes over, and then we become obsessed, and it shows up everywhere else, and it shows up in our relationship, and it shows up with people that all of a sudden don't even want to be with us. And so we can then choose that. You can really say, you know what, I choose to transform my consciousness about toilet paper, or we could say, I choose the price of toilet paper, or I choose to just bitch about it for the rest of my life. I'm just going to own it and rock it. I'm going to tell everybody about it, and I'm just going to use it to free myself of any blockage. You can do that too, but own it instead of denying it. In the Science of Mind textbook, for those of you that haven't perused it yet, almost half of it is a glorious glossary and a concordance in some of them. In the glossary, The longest word explained is repression. Read it today. If you don't have the book, read mine today. Get it in the bookstore, read it today. If you can't do it today, make a commitment to read it tomorrow. It is so revealing. Repression, depression, that which we do not heal stays. That which we do not work through, move through, understand about ourselves, hangs out inside of us. That which we do not resolve blocks our good and creates more of our problems. Makes sense, right? It makes sense that if we do not clear up the things that block us or that we struggle with, they just keep hanging out. They just continue to repeat themselves. That's why some of you continuously struggle with relationships or with money or with work stuff or with health stuff. Some of the stuff that just doesn't seem to heal or doesn't seem to go away is because it's something that we're holding on to in our consciousness. Not to be tortured by, but so that it can be resolved. So we can clear it, so we can look and realize that everything begins in mind, and that once we resolve something in mind, it resolves out here. Even those of you that have changed partners, changed houses, changed jobs, you might notice that you still have the same issues. They show up after a while. And so when something has hurt or harmed us in the past, whatever it may be, it is a messenger. It's just a messenger. It isn't a punishment, as some of us were raised to believe. It isn't a torment. It isn't in your genes. It isn't because of your upbringing. It isn't there to stay. It's a messenger about the direction that your consciousness wants to go into. So if your struggle is with money, it's just a messenger that your consciousness wants to move towards greater abundance. Does that make sense? It's just a messenger. And the more we fight it, which the ego mind tends to do, the more it's there. And the more we surrender to it as a messenger and learn from it, the more it can dissolve and open us. So if we don't deal with some of those blocks, they turn into something bigger. I believe that's the root cause of depression. I believe that's the root cause of chronic disease. I believe that's the root cause of addictions. Is that when we do not resolve some of those blockages inside of us, which is really just what's in the way of expressing our true nature, we're divine beings, then it turns into something greater until we get the message. That's why so often you hear people who have gone through addiction and then heal and become sober, they say that the addiction was the best thing that ever happened in their life, or the disease, or the end of a relationship, or a death. And so some blocks, in science of mind, we say that all blocks can be dissolved in consciousness. All blocks can be dissolved by the mind. So pick a struggle, unpack it, get information about it, make sense of it, see what it's trying to tell you. Ask what the spiritual principle behind it is. Begin to claim that spiritual principle. Ernest Holmes says this: when you treat, which is our word for affirmative prayer, resolve things into thoughts, bodies, people, objects, and all things. Having resolved everything into thought, know that disease is neither person, place, or thing. It has no location, does not belong to anyone, cannot operate through anyone, is not believed by anyone. Know that it is a false belief, a false image with no power. Know that the whole thing is mental, and then mentally dissolve it. Well, how do we do that? Well, we start by noticing how we feel. and how we feel about the experience. We check in with our gut and notice our truth with a small t about it. And we get honest with that. Then we become still and we take a breath. Just feeling what we're feeling means that we're acknowledging our experience about it. We're not denying anything in it. We give it all of our heart, all of our mind, all of our attention. What is this? What is this about? And then receive what you receive. Don't force it. Because I notice that sometimes I might ask that question and I get a millimeter of information, but I want a yard. And so then I pay so much attention to the yard minus the millimeter that I forget that the millimeter has value and that I need to hang out with that until it reveals the next idea, which it always does. Those of us who have this temptation to hang out in the place of the answer we haven't received yet will stay blocked. So it's going with what you're receiving in the moment and then taking the next step. It means that we have to slow down that process of listening and feeling and paying attention and pouring a little love and compassion into it until something new is revealed. Then we ask the question, what do I believe about this? Remember what our teaching says, thought plus feeling equals demonstration or belief or no? Thought plus, yes, I heard it. There, Lorraine wins the prize. Thought plus feeling equals action. Let that become your mantra. That needs to come out of our mouth like that. Thought plus feeling is action. See, the reason that we don't always demonstrate is because our thoughts and our feelings are not matching. They have to match. So find out what it is that we believe. Because we teach, it is done unto you as you believe. A wonderful saying from the master teacher Jesus. It's done unto you as you believe. Then make a choice. You know, sometimes we think we only have two choices. Actually, there's an infinite amount of choices. Be open enough that there are more choices than you think there are. Make a choice about how you feel, what you think, what you believe. Make a choice about where you want to go with that. And then freaking infuse it with all the spiritual practices you know, all the spiritual practices that you do. Just infuse it, just drown it in that. You might need that little book on prayer to just open it up blindly and pick one. And just do that one. And then notice the healing that is taking place. Healing doesn't mean fixing. It might not mean that your circumstances change. Healing means becoming whole. It means that you're on the journey of becoming whole, which in a way is not a becoming, it's just a remembering, because you already are, you just don't believe it. And so then the last step is to bring all the love that you can muster into that experience. When somebody is not clear about the question, how are you? It's because we need to ask it of ourselves and get really clear. So ask yourself every day, how are you, honey? What's going on? Let's talk. And then do it with so much love. Because in the end, this human journey is not really a human journey, it's a soul journey. It is for your soul's awakening. I don't know if this is the truth, but I think it is. That which we don't get, we take with us and we have to do again. And I don't know about you, but there's a lot of stuff I don't want to do again. Ever. So I work hard. And so you begin to pay attention to truth with a small t, truth with a capital T. Bring them together, make a choice about it, and move forward into that. Knowing that to love your mind, your body, your heart, your soul, and your human experience, that truly behooves us to do the work and to heal and to be who the universe made us to be, who we are here to express, so that the world becomes a better place from the inside out. The last thing I want to share, because I've been going on for a while, is this by Ernest Holmes from the Science of Mind textbook, page 398, fourth paragraph. Our mental acceptance should be filled with conviction, warmth, color, and imagination. The creative power responds to feeling more quickly than to any other attitude. I've never read this before. When I read that during the week, I went, really? So I'm going to read this part again. The creative power responds to feeling more quickly than to any other attitude. Therefore, we should try to feel the reality of what we are doing when we give a spiritual mind treatment or do any spiritual practice. This reality is felt as we become more and more convinced that the universe responds to us. So now we do our community practice, but before we do that, I want to honor someone in our community before they slip away. So we have this seasonal Save a Superstar award that we do every 3 months, and it's been sitting here for about 6 weeks because the person hasn't been here. So today we honor Stephanie St. Cyr. Stephanie is our seasonal Save a Superstar. Andrew was a part of this. Love you so much. Oh. Stephanie has been on the leadership council for 4 years. She was the chair for 3 years. She made such a difference. We can see and feel it everywhere. She really created some transformation for us that's everlasting and that I'm incredibly grateful for. She's so dear to us. And so we do this thing when somebody is on the leadership council, they can't be seasonal Save a Superstar because it'd be all wrong. So when she rotated off, we got the chance to honor her. So you get the Save a Superstar spots. We have new signs for the parking spot. If you're not a seasonal Save a Superstar, you're going to get your butt towed because that's for her. Seasonal Save a Superstar, it says July, but we'll pretend it's September because you get your whole 3 months. Stephanie St. Cyr, thanks for all you are and all you do. Your love for our center is a gift and a blessing to all. You're so well deserved. So now we close with a healing treatment. You're all invited for social hour downstairs in Friendship Hall. So this closing treatment is really about celebrating you. Celebrating your life, celebrating how far you have come. Because sometimes we focus a lot on how far we yet have to go, but I never want to forget that we get to celebrate how far we've come. But then also to, if you're experiencing any kind of block, to just be willing to leave it here. Just to be willing to leave it here. I will treat for you during the week because I come in here kind of every day. And so to be willing to leave it here, and if you're not willing yet to leave it here, to be compassionate with yourself. Okay? So let's close our eyes. In this very moment, I feel the presence of Spirit in my heart. And again, when I say I or me or my, I simply speak from and to that divine self, so I invite you to hear it as such. I feel the presence of Spirit, the universe, God, divine love in my heart, and it just moves through every nook and cranny of my being, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and it dissolves anything in the way, because that's what love does. It dissolves anything in its way. And I let myself feel that connection, because I know that the feeling it is the healing in it and of it. So today I surrender to this divine love that has me by the heart, that has me by the soul, that has me, it has my back, it's got my back always and in always. And so I surrender and let go of having to try to figure it all out. I let go of my temptation to judge parts of my life, anyone else's life, parts of my being, parts of my experience, and I just surrender to the love. I trust that everything that's happening in my life is for my highest and best. It is bringing me to this place in consciousness where I know God in my own unique way. and where that becomes the way that leads my life. That makes me feel so grateful. That reminder, that simple reminder that God is all there is, and therefore I am God in expression. Love is all there is, and therefore I am love in expression. Infinite intelligence is all there is, and therefore I am the infinite intelligence. Powerful peace is all there is, and therefore I am powerful peace, and on and on and on and on. That simple affirmation allows me to feel grounded in the truth with a capital T, as it becomes my truth in my everyday life, my beautiful, beautiful life. So grateful for this treatment demonstrating now, because the law is already working it. And I'm so grateful for how the law responds to my consciousness. And so it is.
And so it is.
Have a beautiful holiday weekend, and know that you are blessed and that you are loved.